I can't seem to move on after divorce.
Tyler, what's up, my man?
What's going on, dude?
How, you gonna go up skiing with me this year?
I want to. You guys are we were talking I was talking with Paisley about it, my daughter. She wants to go a lot more. She loves skiing and I said, "Well, we could go think about getting the pass like like Brannon and his family did." And she said, "I don't think I could keep up with any of them, Dad. I'm a little too embarrassed." And I said, "I think
I
you'd catch your
I
feet pretty quick."
guarantee she could. I guarantee. And I Paige is like Reed's favorite person. I think that would be like his dream day, is to ski
Go
with Paisley. Oh, he would
skiing
just
with boots.
love it. I guarantee she could. He's a good skier. He can do a lot of like crazy double black diamond stuff, but he's he's shag. Like
Yeah.
he's not quick. He likes to say he is, but
Yeah. She would love it. She would love that. We really should get them
yeah,
together for a day on the
he's a
slopes.
good
If
skier
we get
though.
any snow here in Utah, it's going to be like 50s again this week. And so,
Don't I know? Dang it!
yeah.
Like, come on, let's pray for cold and snow. So let's make it
Yeah.
happen. Um, well, we have an old guest back on the show today. Vanessa, welcome back.
Thank you.
If you could fill us in from the last time we talked. It was last winter, right?
It was this year, I think. It was just like in January,
Yeah.
Okay,
February. I was pretty spun out still. Yeah.
right. So if
You
you
were
could
in
fill
a
us
place of
in,
trying to discern things. You were feeling pretty like amped up, like you said. You've got a different
Mhm.
question here today, and it'll be good to kind of get a snapshot of where you're at and continue to try to help you.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Snapshot is definitely the question that I pose, which is it's been almost, it'll be a year towards January 1st that I've been divorced. And I am still, you know, I think just really grieving a lot of things, like the entire relationship. And then grieving parts of my ex-husband, of course, because he wasn't like a terrible guy in every sense of the way, right? Just what he was hiding was not healthy and destructive. So, um, a little snapshot this year has been I moved 5 times this year. So it's been a lot for me. I ended up with my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law up here in Sandpoint, and got myself like a house sitting gig for the winter so I could just kind of, you know, find some grounding for myself where I know I'm going to be in a consistent space. And being with my brother and sister-in-law was really good. We got to talk about a lot of things, as a kind of like as a family unit that just people didn't know that were happening in our relationship for all those years. And it wasn't to, throw my ex under the bus or anything of the sorts. I think it was just more, you know, I think it's good that people know where other people are at and so that they can better help, if that's a thing. Some families are good with that and some families aren't. And I think our family was pretty good with that. We all try to hold each other to a standard. And I could see that my ex's family didn't really know what had happened. And I didn't tell everybody. It was just like, some things came out in some conversations for sure. But anyways, that was good just because it kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things that I just was having such a hard time in my cognitive dissonance keeping track of and then making sure that I knew what the truth was. And then keeping it separate in my head. And the reason why I say that is because my sister-in-law had shared a few conversations she'd had with my ex-husband, which is her brother, of course. Um, and he was using the same manipulative tactics and the same pushing mechanisms to get her to not hold him accountable for what he had done and to try to get him to be honest with her, about things that were said, things that were done. He was very angry that we were hanging out together. It's like, well, we were a family for 24 years. Like, if she wants to, still be friends, then of course my sister-in-law wanted that too. And then we became better friends because we were talking so much about so many things. We kind of bonded in some ways. Um, and I'm really thankful for that. But I ended up staying with them for the summer and it was really good. But then it didn't all crash down. but I kind of went from the frying pan into the fire again, and I didn't expect that it would happen. My mother-in-law had ovarian cancer for the last couple of years, and she was really fighting it with a bunch of natural treatments. And she lived just a little ways out of Sandpoint in Sagal. And she went to Mexico to get some treatment for hopefully to heal herself of cancer. And it was just too late. And so they got her home from Mexico. And of course, she's in the area. And I hadn't spoken to her in a really long time because her son, the one I divorced, was her favorite child. And so obviously she would side with him. And there was some narrative being, talked about behind the scenes that probably wasn't entirely true. So there was that, not to get into like too much of that, but she was around and I figured moving up here, like I would see her at some point and maybe we could have some chats and just try to reconnect and make sure that we were okay with each other. It was difficult and she was frustrated that I was living with her daughter, with Fania, which is none of anybody's business, right? But none of the family knew that I was living there for the time being. And she ended up dying, but in the course of her ended up dying, she died like 2 months ago in October. And my ex-husband ended up having to come here and the entire family showed up in Sandpoint. And I was just not really put in a position or a situation, but I was there. So I made the best of it. I served my family. I still loved all of them. I still do. I still consider them my family. So there's a really big family, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, and everybody knows who I am, of course. I was Sean's wife for 24 years. And Sean had started dating right after the divorce papers were finalized, like immediately. And he ended up bringing his new girlfriend up here to see his dying mother several times. And that was really hard. I stayed away on those days because I didn't want to see that. I was still very much attached to him in some unhealthy ways and still kind of in love with him too, right? And so it was very difficult, to say the least, to serve a family that I felt like I was kicked out of. And then having to see him. And then we had some moments together that were talking about his mom dying because my dad died a number of years ago and he was there for all of that. And so, yeah, the connections were still there between the two of us, but I knew I just could not, allow myself to continue to try to cultivate anything with him after divorce. And I knew he was dating someone. I wanted to be respectful of him in his new relationship, even if I thought it was unhealthy. So he accused me of trying to put my claws back into him, which I did nothing of the sort. I just tried to stay away as best I could. I had moments where I'd have to leave family functions just because I couldn't handle it. And I didn't want to start crying in front of everybody. So I would just excuse myself and go home. But it was hard. Just put that out there. He's just very angry with me still. And I just can't seem to move on fully with my heart space. And I think it's just grief and processing the last 20 some years of my life. I have a lot of flashbacks of just previous memories that we shared together, good and bad. And so I'm trying to just navigate all of that. And I know this is going to take a lot longer for me than it would be for him because he had been with other women so many times while he was with me. So he wasn't invested in the relationship like I was. And he wasn't as attached to me as I was to him. And so also the dynamic of just being trauma bonded to someone after they've done so many things to break your heart, but you just can't seem to let them go. And I remember us talking about this on our last conversation. And sometimes it rings in my mind still, which is, why do you think that you can't, separate yourself from this person? Why are you so afraid to do that? And I think that I'm not afraid to do that anymore. I think it's just the aftermath of everything is, catching up with me. I'm not so much in a shock phase. I think I'm moving from shock to through denial, through definitely slowly into acceptance that I'll probably never see him again. And I will probably not, I probably, I don't know if I'll ever get married again just because I don't know if I will ever fully heal from what's happened to me in this relationship, the previous relationship. And because there's just so many years of it. I think if it had been like a couple years and I, had the courage enough way back then to call it off, then I think I would have been a lot better off than now because so much time has passed and I was really, connected with with his family. Um, and it really just feels like now, like I just don't mean anything to any of them. They're just kind of all like, oh, well, that's over. Glad we don't have to deal with the drama of Sean and Vanessa anymore. And so we're just going to move on with our lives. And I
That,
don't blame people for moving on, but
but Vanessa, that hurts, right? Like
it
that's,
hurts a lot.
yeah. You feel just
Yeah.
kind of discarded.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not just the grief of the divorce that you're going through, but it's the grief of the change in all of these relationships that
And
is
what I thought
super
I meant to
painful.
them,
Yeah.
right. It's like what you think you mean to people. And then you come to find out that you might not have meant hardly anything to them. And it was just, I feel like I was just there because I was Sean's wife and not because,
You were
I do think that,
Vanessa.
right, exactly. Like I am
Yeah.
my own person, but I don't think I ever got to really be my own person because I was kind of under Sean's thumb for all those years. And
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't truly who I am. And also mostly because I just wasn't educated about relationships and I didn't know how to show up in the proper ways, which also is heartbreaking too, because I could have had so much more with the people
Mm-hmm.
around me. And that's that's devastating in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
think
yeah,
it's
it's really hard, like trying to move on from this. And I know I think it's been a year, but it hasn't been a year because like I keep wanting to go no contact and I do pretty good for a few weeks, and then we have to have a phone call about some sort of financial thing or whatever. And I try not to be on the phone with him because I don't want to hear his voice because I know what it does to me. He seems like he's okay with it, but he doesn't understand what it does to me, and I have to just say, I can't speak with you on the phone. You can send it to me in an email. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
every like once a month, usually we have to end up talking to each other because of just the alimony payment and he had to switch bank accounts. So and I don't mind talking to him over the phone. It's hard to not engage with each other because we were in each other's lives for so many years. And he just thinks that everything's going to be okay. And he wanted me to be his friend a couple of weeks ago. He told me, he's like, I really miss you and I really want us to be friends. And I was like, I can't be your friend. I'm sorry. I can't be your friend. That's not fair for you to ask me that after everything you put me through and everything that you did. I can't be friends with someone who treats someone like that and just says that everything's okay after a year and just move on.
Yeah.
So
Good, Vanessa, to have those boundaries. That's one of the first steps to you actually moving forward and healing is not allowing yourself to go back and, be back in those situations. So, and that's really hard. That's
it's
difficult
so
to do.
yeah,
yeah.
especially when that person's kind of been like, they created a situation where they become the drug, like because of the hot and cold, the dopamine hits I would get or the oxytocin I would receive if we were, intimate after some time of not being intimate and then thinking like, oh, he's changed or this is gonna be better or he gets it now. And then he would essentially, but it would be like a 5 minute change, right? So I know we talked about that before, and
Mhm.
that's that's why I know I can't go back to that. I can't even be friends with someone. I don't want him calling me randomly and he's with someone now and I don't want to be the ex-wife in the situation, like I don't want to be that. I don't want to be the ex-wife who's a good friends and it wouldn't be fair to me either. Like I'm not his good friend. I
Right.
was his good friend. I was his wife. I was his lover for so many years. And if you wanted to be friends, then maybe you should have thought about what you were doing before you did it.
Right.
If you wanted to end things amicably, then we could have maybe had that. But for me, that's not on the table.
Yeah. Okay. I think so let's so just in hearing you talk, Vanessa, I'm with Brannon here. Let's just get out what sounds like is the right kind of work that's happening and the pros here, and then we'll get into maybe your question, which is how do I help myself still kind of get over the pain of all of this and the longing and the grief that's still there. But what we do know is that you're at least aware that there is a grieving process that's taking place
Mhm.
now, and you're conscious of that and going like, oh, there is some bargaining and some depression and maybe still some anger and once in a while
Mhm.
a moment of acceptance. So we know that that awareness is actually power for us. That's a good thing. And then what Brannon said is also another good thing, which is you sound like you're better with your personal boundaries and values than even the last time we talked.
Mhm.
So you're strengthening your ability to kind of know what you need and to be able to say, hey, I'm not in the space where I can have that kind of friendship right now. Partly because this grieving process is still like working you over, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, can you, since the divorce, has there been anything else that has been that you know of has been helpful for you in the process that you're in of grieving? Because some of this is time for sure, but has there been
Yeah.
anything else that you've been doing to help yourself with this process?
Um, I think just talking with a couple close friends about like what I'm experiencing, what I'm going through has been helpful. I've done some journaling. I do a lot of video blogging of myself, and I feel like I really need to talk some things out for a while. And that seems to be helpful. But honestly, I think the thing that's helped me the most is just no contact. It's just no contact. And try to revert my attention or my mind when I have memories come up or some things like that. Like if they're good memories, then I honor those memories, but I try not to linger in them too long because I tell myself, like, if you linger here too long, you're just going to feel really sad and you're going to feel homesick and heartbroken. And we want to try to move through those parts of ourselves that we don't want to get stuck there, right? I don't want to be pining after someone for the next like 4 or 5 years that I just know I can't go back to. And
Mhm.
he's clearly moving on and I think was ring shopping for his new girlfriend. So yeah, I can't those are some of the things that have helped. Honestly, I've been in so much shock and grief this year. It was so hard that I haven't really gotten to check in with any groups or anything up here locally. I think there's a grief share group, and I wasn't really sure if I even wanted to do that because I've been grieving for so many years, so many things that I've lost in my life that I just didn't want to stay stuck in that. I just
Mm.
And I don't know if I'm just trying to like, be my own hero here and just do it on my own, but I'm
But
kind of tired of talking about it too.
Van-
Like I
Vanessa, what this might seem from left field, but what makes you feel alive?
exercise really makes me feel alive.
Okay.
Some kinds of music do.
Okay.
Being around family is is a really big deal for me. And yeah,
And
I would say those.
can you, with those things, can you actually feel alive? Like even through all this grief, can you feel like, wow, I feel hope, I feel good, I feel like
Hmm.
I'm okay in those
Yeah,
moments? Yeah.
yeah, I do. Yeah. Unfortunately, my body is in kind of in like a fight or flight mode. It's been stuck for a lot of years, and so exercise. I've got some chronic illness. We talked about that a little bit before when I was on the call. Some autoimmune stuff or something going on. So exercise. I do what I can for that, but I have been
Okay.
listening to more like upbeat music or music I had enjoyed previously, and that's been really helping. And
Okay.
then again, just having planned time with friends or family has been really crucial too.
Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, that stuff's really important, and your daily self care is really important right now.
Hmm.
Like a real focus on self, on boundaries around the situation. The, it's really hard to grieve something, especially when it comes to betrayal.
Yeah.
If you're always going back right into the thing that you're hoping for or pining for, like you say, like
Yeah.
so your clear boundaries are very important. And then I'd stack on top of those boundaries the self-care, the things that actually help you feel alive. Well,
Hmm.
before I do that, I'd put things that help you move energy. So
Okay.
help you move the pain through you. So
Okay.
that can be a lot of the things you just listed,
Mm-hmm.
journaling, talking it out, crying,
Music.
music, certain
Mm-hmm.
types of music. But like you say, you don't want to get stuck there just in like just in the pain of it. You need to go there. You need to acknowledge it
Yeah.
and feel it. It's like it's both and. You don't want to avoid it and pretend like it's not there. You want to
Yeah.
say, "Oh, that trigger just came up. I really feel like crying right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go cry for 20 minutes and then I'm going to get myself up and I'm going to go for a walk."
Right.
All
Yeah.
right?
To kind of
Um
finish the pain cycle, kind of like
yeah,
releasing it, but then allowing your body to move through it too, and versus just right.
exactly, Vanessa. That's exactly it.
Right.
And then that will with grief, it's you think about it as waves, right?
Yeah.
So that will come back
Yeah.
and
It does.
you get to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
And but as you do that again and again, what you're doing is you're releasing the energy and the pain and you're processing it and the waves should start to spread out.
Okay.
And hopefully you're not stuck in just depression because you're taking the pain, you're acknowledging it, you're feeling it, and then you're moving forward beyond it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know I make this sound easy. Like we're talking about deep, hard
Mm-hmm.
pain here.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I've been in this for so many years now. It's almost been 10 years of grieving for me, consistent grieving, because I really have lost pretty much everything in my life.
Yeah.
Um, like, my dad died in 2016 along with um, a pregnancy that my ex and I had. We lost all of our grandparents, friends, our home. I lost my health.
Yeah, I remember
Um,
this.
like all of those things. Like that's a lot. It's like a lot of pillars of anyone's life. And anything that I knew that felt normal, I lost. And then just having to move so much because I just don't feel comfortable where I end up staying and certain roommate situations and all that. Like just it really does look, very chaotic to other people outside of me. And
Hmm.
I see people watching me and I see people looking at me and they just see them like, is she gonna crack? Like, no, I already cracked. Like I already fell apart, I just, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right about the grief. I've done some grief work before. After my dad died and, the baby died and all that. Um,
Vanessa,
but it,
why I want to ask you this a question here. All the things that you've been through, all this grief, is there a reason?
I don't know.
Is God just like shitting on you? Like what's happening?
It feels like it sometimes.
No.
I don't understand. I'm not a terrible person. I haven't made all the best decisions and choices in my life. Excuse me, I have a baby dog and
You're
she's
okay.
really anxious to play with me. Oh, Rose, sit down.
She feels your energy.
She can feel your emotions is what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and she wants to get me out of it, so she's trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, excuse me. Um, I don't know. That's a really good question. I really sometimes I feel I've asked God, like, am I cursed? Has God cursed me in these things? Like, why do I still have to go through so many hard things? And it doesn't seem like there's not that there's no hope. I always think there's hope, but I just have been like asking God, like, please like help me through these things. And I sometimes I can't even ask him for help because I feel like so many terrible things have happened to me that if I go to him, he's just silent. And that's what it feels like right now. It's just God's just silent.
Mm,
I know he's there, but if he's silent with me and I don't hear him or sense him, then I'm not sure what all this is for, but
right. And that's not an answer that Tyler and I can give you,
I
right?
understand.
But the like the reason I asked the question is pointless pain leads to just staying stuck in the grief, in the depression. It's
Yeah.
just like I'm hopeless, like I'm just being picked on, I'm being just like versus you've been through all this stuff. And I don't know why, Vanessa, but you get to choose whether you believe that there's a reason or not.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like God's
Mhm.
doing something with you here. I don't know what. Or we can believe God's not, and it's just like this life sucks, and just like you might as well wallow in it, in the pain, and that sucks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life sucks. God cursed me, or something else.
Or something else, and we
Right.
don't know what, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But
think,
I go ahead.
Brannon, to go along with that, though, I think that's one of the challenging things with like grief is I think the point you're trying to make is a vital point to make, even though it's not fun for anybody to hear in a spot like Vanessa's, is we've done this work enough to know that when people finally start to come to this conclusion of all of this stuff that I've had to go through has some kind of meaning for me, maybe it develops some kind of purpose or maybe some new understanding or some new clarity or some, then all of a sudden that is part of what helps move through the grieving process. It's what not only helps you get through the pain, but it actually elevates your life to a place you couldn't have gone otherwise without it.
Mm.
And that's easier said than done, and that's why it's so hard, is because you kind of have to pass through the confusion, the silence, the loss, the doubt, the anger, not just with the things that happen to you, but maybe the wrestle with a higher power.
Mhm.
Um, but if you'll do that with an openness to the fact that this might potentially be doing something for me, eventually we start to land in places where it's like, oh man, I might have a corner on the market when it comes to resilience in this area of life now. And because of that, that allows me to go and take these risks or do this new thing or be a voice for somebody else or whatever else is going to happen with that. Maybe this will turn, maybe this is the part of a journey where who knows where this turns out, but maybe you'll be worshiping an entirely different God a year from now, one that doesn't curse.
Mm.
Who knows? That's going to be your wrestle. But when you find meaning and purpose in it, that's where you're going to find kind of more peace and more acceptance in the long run. Um, I also want to say some things, Brandon, to what you were saying, and I get your thought on this, Brandon, for a
yeah,
second with her situation. I almost feel like the battle that's being fought here, and you were kind of talking with Vanessa about this, is it's got two fronts to it. Like there is the front of needing to create space and opportunity and permission and kindness and compassion to do the grieving. At the same time that there's this, and I would say inside the grieving, there's probably still some shame and trauma work there.
yeah.
It feels that way. And then the other front is I got to get busy creating the life that I was designed for. And I'm kind of picturing like our healing journey, Brandon, where I almost picture Vanessa would be benefit from be doing like, say, section two, which is all about dealing with shame,
The
trauma,
pain.
past pain, and then section
Mhm.
4 and 5, which is like, here's what I'm doing to develop myself and have confidence in who I am and know who I am and step into my power and find purpose. And it's, is it possible to work on both sections at the same time?
Well, I think so, and so, and that's where I'm seeing you, Vanessa. I think this is why Tyler's bringing this up is
Okay.
we can feel your pain, and yet I'm asking you things about like what do you love to do? You know, what
Mhm.
lights you up, and both you need to descend further into that pain, and you need to climb out into the light. Like you got to do both at the same time. And I know this sounds
Yeah.
really difficult, but what Tyler's talking about, like Tyler, I think absolutely not only not like it's almost in some cases needed. Like if you just descend into the dark where it gets so dark in there you can't even see the light above,
You get buried there.
you're stuck.
Yeah.
Like it's just so consuming,
Yeah. I was
overwhelming.
there earlier this year for sure.
Yeah.
When I found out that, my ex-husband was shopping for engagement rings and was probably going to ask this brand new person he'd never met to marry him only a couple months after meeting her. I definitely spiraled for sure. Um, that
The,
was really hard, but I have come to terms with it. Still hurts. But it's not my life anymore. I really try to accept it and walk myself through what would this look like in my head and just try to, accept
Vanessa,
it with some bravery. So
Vanessa, random question for you. How old's that dog?
she is 6 months old.
So look at that. Look when you got her. And
Yeah,
and do you love her?
I do love her.
Yeah.
She's grown on me.
Yeah.
She forces
she's
me.
she's a puppy, right?
She's a puppy. Yeah. Okay, go outside.
Um um
Yeah, she's pretty amazing though, because and it was funny how I got the dog just real quick. God kind of gave me her. She was supposed to be, I was supposed to pay for her, and I just didn't have the money to do that. And so she is my sister-in-law's dog's daughter. So,
okay.
so he had a litter of puppies with another dog, of course. And, I told myself, like, I want to get a dog someday. And I've been wanting a dog for a couple years. And my ex always told me, no, you're not gonna have time for a dog. I'm like, no, I have all kinds of time in the world for a dog. So, anyways, here I have with this dog. God gave me the dog for free. Just
Hmm.
worked out that I got the dog for free. Didn't have to pay a dime for her. Um, and it was the exact kind of looking dog I had in like a dream I had about me, like in a my dream vehicle with this dog in the front seat next to me, and we were driving through the mountains, and I was just like the happiest I'd ever been in my life. And when I saw her, I was like, oh my gosh, she looks exactly like the dog I had in that vision I had. So here's this dog, and I ended up naming her Rowan. And I literally, in my sister-in-law's backyard this last summer, because it was summer, it was nice outside, I slept in a tent for 4 months.
Oh.
And I was underneath a rowan tree in their backyard, and we didn't know it was a rowan tree, but I ended up naming my dog Rowan. And
No
so,
way.
yeah. So there was some really kind of cool, like spiritual things that were happening around like getting the dog. But my sister-in-law was like, I don't know if I'm ready for a dog. My health, this and that and the other thing. I made some excuses, and she's like, no, this is gonna be really good for you because it's gonna give you some purpose. It'll give you something to, a companionship and all the things that a dog will bring, just distraction. And so I am so thankful that I have her right now in my life.
Yeah, a couple things that I'm noticing, just and the reason I randomly brought this up as we're talking to you, like you're loving on that dog, like
Hmm.
you're talking about the pit of despair that you've been in, and at the same time, in the midst of it all, you take on loving something that really needs you, and
Yeah.
and giving your love and time and energy to that. You're also
Mhm.
talking about little, and I don't mean little in the sense of like that these aren't a big deal, but little experiences from God that are like you had a vision of that dog. You
Yeah.
slept under a rowan tree, like all these things. God is there, and you can believe that God is working against you or that God is working for you. And even this pain, even this divorce, even this relationship, even the feeling of being discarded by his family, we can look at that and say, this is God working in Vanessa's favor to help her
Mhm.
understand herself better, know who
Right.
she is, move forward, and like live your purpose and your dreams.
Hmm.
It sucks that all of the stuff you've been through for these years, and why you had to go through this in order to really start to move forward, I don't know, but
Hmm.
um you're still breathing, you're still
Right.
going.
Yeah.
The pain isn't going to be this intense forever. I hope
No,
not, at
yeah.
least, right?
No, it's already gotten better. It's just, like the aftermath, when you kind of settle down somewhere and you're able to sit down long enough to, work through the phase of like shock and denial and just like, oh my gosh, like what just happened. So yeah.
But think of all that you have to do, Vanessa, in the future.
Hmm.
Have you thought of that?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I am, definitely putting some steps forward. into like what that looks like and where I want to be and what I want to be doing with my life. And um yeah, relationships, like a romantic relationship, I don't really have in my future as of right now, just because it's difficult. But
Yeah.
It's
I
okay.
can
It's
I can
you're
see
still
myself.
hurting.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, I have been seeing someone, and he's really nice, and I don't know where it'll go. I'm not super serious or keen on growing it necessarily, but it is nice to have some companionship sometimes, and we just go and do fun things together. So just to get out. But,
Ty Tyler, can I ask you a question? Like, you've seen a lot of things through the years, like a lot. You've worked with a lot of people in a lot of different complex, challenging situations and unique trials. Like you've seen things that people go through that you probably never would have thought of, right? Um, if I were to ask you, do you think the universe is working in people's favor, or that God is actually trying to get to people's hearts, even through all of the stuff that you've seen? What would you say?
I would say, and this is like, I don't know, I hope this doesn't sound like a cop out, but it's like we're all going to believe something, right? And so we should consider what fruits the beliefs we have actually bring. And
Mhm.
what I've found is that it seems that the people like this is going to sound so stupid, but have you ever had like a fly or a bee get stuck in the windowsill and they keep pounding away at the windowsill and you're trying to get them out of the windowsill and you try to shoo them away and then they get frustrated, or you get some paper and you try to like block it till they can get to the opening in the window or the door to get them out, and then they fight against that paper, they're trying to sting it, they're trying to get away,
Mhm.
but they're pressing against it, pressing against it, pressing against it. They're fighting it the whole time and all you're trying to do is lead them to freedom and life. And
Mhm.
I sometimes wonder if like there might be a merit to looking at the universe or God that way too, that part of what this is all about is actually getting me right into the exact bandwidth that I was designed to be in in this universe or in this world, or in the midst of like how I can show up and have a relationship with God or other people. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I know that that produces better fruits than, oh, poor me, the world is out to get me.
Mhm.
And so in believing that, what it does is it provides hope, it provides possibility, it keeps my agency and my choice. And for some reason, it adds a measure. This sounds so weird. Even in the midst of horrible things, it adds a measure of peace. So I don't know if that's what you're asking or not, Brandon, but that's what my answer is.
Yeah, you want a great example of this, and I brought this up before, and it's just the do you listen to podcasts, Vanessa?
Yeah.
There's one called The Letter, and I brought this up before, but it's a great example of a family and a woman who went through so much that made no sense about God, just it seemed like dumping on her.
Right.
And she talks about her whole process of grief. Like you can hear it through the whole like podcast of what she went through and the peace that she found. And I want to share the comment that
Just
actually
came through.
I know this guy and I know him well, and he's an awesome guy and he's been through a lot. And it says, "Thank you for sharing. I relate to this so much. The pain and grief sucks, but when you come out on the other side and feel the light in you and embrace the authentic you, it's a hard journey, but worth it."
Mm.
Um, so I don't know if we're giving you like answers, Vanessa. I think in a lot of ways you already know the answers to this. I feel like you just need more of a reminder of stay the course. You're strong enough to get through this pain. Maintain those boundaries. Um, Rely on good, healthy support. And don't forget who you are. You're that loving soul who cares about that dog, right? Like that's who you really are. Don't forget that through this pain, and then find the light, find the good, find the things that light you up, and start to focus there as much as possible. And
Right.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and being vulnerable and sharing with us your pain. Like that's a gift for you to share that with us. Um,
Mm.
Vanessa, can you tell me just right now what's going through you emotionally? I mean, people can't see your face. They're mostly just listening, but what are you feeling right now?
I think just a lot of emotion for sure. And I think the emotions I'm experiencing, just feeling some reprieve, just knowing that, like not on some grief island by myself. A lot of other people have gone through a lot of the same things and even worse things than I have. So just some gratefulness for the two of you.
mm,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Just taking some time, but
I
I
see.
think I think it's just like so comforting to be able to talk with people who understand and that they're not going to tell you, which a lot of my friends and family have, which is, oh, you'll get through it. You'll get through it. But they don't they don't have the same knowledge, they don't have the same expertise. And since, they've gone through hard things too, I think a lot of people just shove their emotions down. And so I think that people
Mhm.
sometimes view me as being too sensitive
Yeah.
or not strong enough, which is not true. I mean, I'm a sensitive person, but I also know that I feel my emotions. And that's, I think, part of the my journey has been allow myself to feel it, but don't stay there.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
yeah, just
Yeah.
those emotions are, our emotions are real, but I don't want to just be like and I'm not like an emotional wreck all the time anymore, like I was. I don't spin out, I know that, our lives are going in different directions and that's what my ex-husband wanted. And so I have to respect what he wanted, even if that's not what I wanted. And
Yeah.
honestly, if one person wants to go, then the Bible tells us that you should let him go
Mhm.
because if that keeps the peace for them and they're happier, even if they're not in God or not, then ultimately it's for my good too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing those feelings, Vanessa. I noticed your body language even shift a little bit more when Brannon read that comment, and I just want to illustrate how cool it is that a total stranger could step into that space of empathy with you for just a split second and say, "Hey, I felt some of that same grief too, and it sucks." And
Mhm.
your soul could instantly receive that and be like, "Oh, I'm not alone." And here you
Yeah.
are in the midst of a bad place, saying that for a moment you feel reprieve, you feel peace, you feel understood, you feel not alone. Um, I sometimes think that this sounds so weird. You wouldn't be able to experience all of that goodness in this moment you just felt without having put yourself out there while going through these things. And
Right.
it's kind of a cool thing that we have someone who was willing to put a comment out there and share it with you, and it meant that to you too.
Mhm.
I will say one last thing. I know we're out of time, but I will say one thing that was a little bit more of a logistical thing to go along with what we talked about today. That where Brannon's going with you is give yourself space to do the grieving, yes, and do your blogging, do your journaling, do your music. Maybe consider finding a group or something, not to stay stuck there, but to allow that be your space to do that processing
Mhm.
while also then doing something like the things that light you up. And one thing that I would suggest, and it's harder to do, but it would be still worth considering, is to be doing the kind of work like the gratitude work that you just did with Brandon and I by saying thank you, and
Mhm.
also core values work. Like,
Mm.
who is Vanessa? What are her core values? When everything else is stripped away, what are going to be the most important values that she will die on? And if you
Okay.
get really clear with those values, then that's going to start moving you forward in the way that you look at your life with, well, then how would I go and shine those values into the lives of other people or into this world that I live
Mhm.
in?
Okay.
So that would be maybe one tangible thing that you could be working on. So,
Right.
um,
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Vanessa, thank you for coming on. Appreciate you being vulnerable. We'd love to hear from you again. You're welcome to come on anytime. And
Okay.
you guys, if this was helpful, please leave a review, mention Vanessa, thank her. And until next time, keep on keeping on.
Thanks.